Good afternoon, everybody. I believe it'll be good morning when this one is released. Welcome to Run It Back, episode number 34. I am your host, Menelik Fernandez, and I am super thankful to be able to continue doing this show with all of you. And I start every episode basically the same, so I will start it the same. The concept of this show is we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak. We look at a particular matchup and we see what worked, what didn't work, what we would do differently moving forward, what we would keep the same. We talk about preparation, all that fun stuff. So before I start, I always like to give thanks to all of the coaches that join every week that like sort of are creating this little community of giving feedback and listening to each other. I think that's been really awesome. And I also always like to give a thanks or a special thanks to the Rising Coaches Network, which is sort of where creatively this idea stems from. And just a great coaching tree in terms of professionals who want to learn from each other and get better. Today we are going international and we are taking a look at a game which is Triton BC versus Diagoras BC. We're going to take on this game from Triton BC's perspective. This game happened in late 2018 and it was a cup game, so we're going back a little bit. And I will let my guests do a little bit of background on the matchup, etc. Today, we are very fortunate to have Kostas Kalogeropoulos join us from Greece. Kostas was an assistant coach on Triton BC when this game happened. Please allow me to try and do a little bit of justice here, Kostas, to who you are. Kostas, in my opinion, is an excellent sharer of the game. He has many clinics that he contributes to. He's an excellent contributor on CoachTube. I'll put links for both in the description of this video when it comes out. Kostas has 17 years of experience. He's a level A licensed basketball coach. He's a member of the Greek Basketball Coaches Association. As I mentioned, he was an assistant coach with Triton BC, which he helped get from Division 2 to the promotion from Division 3 to Division 2. He's also been a coach with Peristeri BC, which again had some promotion under his tenure there. He's also been with Ionikis Nikasis, forgive my lack of having a good Greek accent here, which again also got promoted during his tenure there. He's been an athletic director at various stops, Milicia BC, Kronos BC. He was the head coach of an under-18 team with Ionikis Nikasis. Geez, I'm massacring. I'm really sorry, Kostas.
It's different vowels in English and in Greek, so you don't have the it's not easy for you. It's Ionikos, but I can't write it down with an E. It's going to be with I.
There you go.
No problem with that.
I'm sorry. And then has done some U16, U15 stuff with BC Piraeus. I'm really super thankful for this going international and having the ability to speak with you and learn from you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kostas. Fun fact, I actually have an uncle named Kostas on my Macedonian side, so real
good for you.
Common name over here. But thank you so much for joining us.
Good for you. Pleasure is all mine. I've watched a couple of your episodes, and I really like the concept of running back or for a formal game. And I also like the company of so many coaches and enthusiasts to share some of other views and aspects of the clips we will show later. I couldn't say that my coaching background better than you, Melanie. Thank you. Only thing I would like to add is the last 2 seasons after we promoted with the team we will show, Triton BC, a really historical team from Athens.
Right.
I was hired by Olympiacos BC development team. Olympiacos BC is one of the powerhouses in EuroLeague basketball. I don't work with a senior team in EuroLeague. I work for the development team that plays in Division 2. And the target is, of course, another season for me to promote. I was fortunate enough to every team I have worked to promote, and if not to promote, to be on the top 4. So I've been, lucky. I've been with good working coaches and good working colleagues and good players, maybe. And I didn't have faced, relegation in my 17-year career until now.
That's
I have worked with kids and boys teams of every age, from 6-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And I strongly believe that you can teach someone to play basketball even at an older age, maybe not to go pro, but to teach him the fundamentals. and I always preach about the fundamentals and the off-ball game more than the pick and roll game. That's my philosophy.
Love it.
In
Thank
a
you so much
sentence.
for that. And I'm sorry for omitting the Olympiacos part.
No problem. You said about 95% of my career.
And so let's start here. I usually like to start with preparation for the particular game.
Yes.
We are going back a little bit, but because you're international and most of the coaches here are North American based, can you give us a little bit of background as to how the cup game would work and how the the different levels would work and the promotions at this part of the season? Like, give us a little bit of background as to where you would be.
In European countries, in basketball as in soccer, apart from the league games, you have cup games. Cup games are knockout games, are really exciting for the fans because bigger teams face lower ranked teams. Division 1 play with Division 2 or the Division 3 team. And if it's a home game from the lowest ranked team, it's really big for the city and the fans.
Right.
So this happens for the lower ranked teams because this season with Triton BC we played Division 3. That's a division that's semi-pro to pro because most players and coaches are pros and take a paycheck and live by that. And some players, about 30% of this division, they work in the mornings. They do both. Those are playing in the afternoon, about 30%. There's two regions, Greece, south and north. Athens is in the south. It's the most powerful of the two parts. And each group has 16 teams. So it's 32 teams every season. And only the two of each region, north and south, total 4, will promote to Division 2, which only one group with 16 teams.
Okay.
Normally. Division 2 is full pro. And normally, apart from this season, current season, that because of COVID situation, they do not allow any foreign players. Normally, we have one foreign player that has an EU passport. That could be a Macedonian like you, a Croatian, an Italian, Spanish, or an American that has a Bosnian passport and plays for the Bosnian national team.
Interesting.
We got in Peristeri Kiki Clark. I don't know if you know him. He's a legend in the NCAA. He played in St. George in New York. He's one of the best scorers. I see Coach Barrett there.
Well, LB knows everybody. You'll come to know that LB knows everybody.
Yeah, so. It was a privilege for me to be assistant coach for this player. He was really great player. He was really skilled, and he came to us after a really severe injury. A year before, he played for Prometheus BC, a really uprising team in Division 1, pro team. And in a game against Panathinaikos, another powerhouse of EuroLeague, he ruptured his quadriceps. That's a really odd and strange injury, but if you rupture your quadriceps or your tendon, you lose about 10 months at minimum.
Right.
So he came to us the next season and he played the critical role for us to promote. And so about cup games, not to be away from the subject. Cup games are really exciting about the reasons I aforementioned, but this particular game I'm gonna see clips of, it's the 4th in a row. So we played Saturday, we beat a team from Division 3, home court. Then we played Wednesday, we defeated the team again in home court of Division 2. And then next Saturday, 3 games in 1 week. Okay, another team from Division 2. They were favorites, of course, because they have better players, bigger budgets. But we beat them because we were a team full of enthusiasm. We played fast, we played at our own pace, and we are really, determined to show that we are here to show that this is our season. So we got in the fourth game inside 10 days. So you don't have, the 4 or 5 days normally to prepare it for a game. To have, like as coaches say, a week leading to a game or 5 days. We had only 2 days to prepare. So it was really tough for this, but it was really exciting for us. Another thing, this thing, we're gonna see the green team in green jerseys, Diagoras BC, another team from Athens, was their first game of the season. We really played 3 games, as I said, and there was a first game. Last season, they have a different coach and they have a different roster. So they don't have any team video to show or to see for the coaching staff to see what we will prepare, what the play calls, how do they play. So we prepared an individual scouting video because we knew the players. I have scouted them in the years before, and the other assistant coach, because we were two assistant coaches, and we have shared videos. I prepared scouting video for the team plays, and the other coach, Chris, he prepared the individual players video, and I made the reports and the stats too. So we prepare for our players to see individual tendencies, and we prepared our team for pick and roll actions, for low post actions, for some plays that the coach that was in a different team last season played. So we did a mix up, and we were 70 to 80% right about that, because this team was really stacked. They really have 7 or 8 really experienced players of Division 2, and they were built to be promoted to Division 1, to go pro.
Right.
Pro. So they were the favorites, and we battled them until last minute. We battled them. So it was really a different kind of scouting, and it was really, not really convenient for me as a coach, but because our head coach Mike, who's been in Triton BC about 9 years now, and he's the reason that this team is up there to Division 2 right now. He was 23, 22 when he got the team in local leagues, low local league, like third local league in a row, and he promoted the team 5 times in a row. So he organized us, he put the principles, he laid down the foundation for us to work with him, and we battled every team this season. So that's the story behind the game and the preparation. I would like to share a short document, if you like, about the game. Yes, I translated in English. I got translated in English earlier today to show you.
So, just for anybody who like,
yes, that's a document. That's a Word document, but it was our layout for the game. What we will do, what we'll be defending about, etc.
I love it. So just for anybody who regularly Kostas has actually managed to just basically answer every question I ask at the start, like with one spiel.
I did my homework earlier. I studied your format of questions.
I love it.
Okay, now you can see the document, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the set plays the coach has played last season. Okay, I have forgotten to translate 1 or 2. Okay,
yeah, this is okay.
One side pick and roll, double exit, Iverson screens. That here said circle. That here let's say insert, and it's the actions their players.
So Kostas, will all of your players get this sheet, or will
no?
You
this for our coaches.
Right.
I will show you later a normally prepared scout.
Okay.
For a league game that we have, the full week to prepare, and we have video of the other team playing. That's because I said that this team was the first game of the season, different team last season, different coach. So we were like investigators, like they're gonna play that, they're gonna play this, I think it was really, like conversation about 3 or 4 days before the game.
Right.
So we were lucky enough, or competent enough to almost all these plays they were played by this team. So then the principal players.
I'm sorry, let me ask you, how early would you have started this? Because you mentioned you had the 3 games before and only really about 2 days of practice.
We played on Saturday, and we played the before game on Wednesday. So we have Thursday and Friday, 2 games. 2 days. We saw the video on Friday.
Right in that window, that is when you would be starting it.
Yes, and because you have only 2 days, you can't have proper rehabilitation of the players. You play and you play again, but because we won the first game and then the next one and then the next one, it was really good for the team to begin bonding, because of coaches. If a team starting getting wins, everything is getting up. Oh, the coaches are doing a great job. Oh, we won them, and because we already won 2 Division 2 teams with good players, better players than we got. They all knew that. Okay, you can't hide. And with bigger budgets, they believed in beating this game too, in winning this game too.
Nice.
So we got some player, principles right there. One on defense, it's their best scorers, the best shooters. Full closeout, meaning when they get the ball in a spot, after a kick out, full close out. Don't let them shoot the ball. That means we prefer them, these 4 players, to drive to the basket than shoot the 3-pointer because they are lethal. They were the best 4 shooters. So this really helped us during the game. Pick and roll defense, they got 2 main point guards. That the first one, number 4, is a creator, short guy. I got him last season in Olympiacos, really experienced. At the time of the game, 2018, he was 38 years old, but he could run and sprint full game, 40 minutes, no problem. No problem. And because he is a creator and like to penetrate and kick out, we play them through on the first pick and then over and flat when he set a re-pick. As a principle, we played flat heads on pick and rolls with the low tag player from the side. There were 2 defenders tagging the roller as high as he could, even near the free throw line. And then, if there was a skip pass to the corner, the player on the wing, we wanted to go to the bottom, to the corner, and the player who made the tag go to the wing. So, like an X out, an X switch. Oh, yeah. Yes, an X switch. And we risked a spot 3-pointer over our closeout every game of that season. We wanted to stop penetration of the ball handler in the pick and roll. We wanted to not give an easy pull up because in this division 2, many guards have good percentages in pull up situations from mid range. I know in the top level NBA, EuroLeague, they all say no, don't get pull ups. They're really low percentage shots. But there are players in the lower ranks in every country, I've seen in other countries too, that they get paid to make that shot every game.
Interesting.
And then we didn't want to,
Sorry,
of
Kostas,
course, the ball passed through the roller.
Can I interrupt
of course,
for 1 second? Sorry. With the
Yes.
the pick and roll defense,
Yes.
I noticed you played a few variations at this point already.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, this is a question that I ask often. With this club, when you were there, did you find that you were more of, we have one standard coverage, or we're trying to do different things based upon the different players on the other team?
Our rule was to play over the ball handler's guard, to push him over the pick and chase him. And while he was pushing him over, our big guy flat heads in the limits of the perimeter. That was our rule. But for some special players, like in this game, like number 4, starting point guard, we played through on the first pick because we didn't want him to penetrate in the first step, on his first try, and then over and flat. For some players during the season, for instance, for a left-handed scorer, we played him ice to force him right, whichever angle the pick was set, even on the right wing, left wing, or in the top or in the elbow. But it was a special occasion. Normally, out of 35 or 36 games we played all season, 80% we played over and flat heads. So we have a rule, and for some special cases, 5 or 6 games, we maybe modify our defense for some special skilled players. Most teams do that in Europe. There really isn't easy for players to remember, okay, this guy is a 3-point shooter, so we trap him to get the ball out of his hands. The other player, when he gets in, or in the same lineup, the shooting guard, let's say, a wing player, it's non-shooter, he's a slasher, so we play under. It's not easy to have different coverages for the same lineup, maybe 1 or 2, but with the third one, not easy to communicate. You have to be really good players and really experienced and really high IQ players to do that.
Right.
You could train them, of course, in the preparation time, because in Europe, most teams have 6 or 7 weeks to prepare before they play a game, so official game. So you have to do that if you want to do right. And then we have a plan B, which we did. If you watch the full game, we did sometimes switch, and then red. Red meant strong side trap. I've had it below. We see that, meaning that if they try to exploit the inside mismatch with their big guy against our point guard or shooting guard, the guy from the passer, our defender, would go for the trap from the strong side. The defender on the big guy would deny the baseline, And we
Okay.
got full rotation from top to wing, wing to top, and corner to wing, just to run the clock out 6, 5, 4, 3, and don't let them have a clear shot. Low post defense, they have two different centers. Number 21, a really big guy, on the cuts, strong side trap, and deny baseline. We didn't want him to get inside our paint because he was a fairly good passer, and he was, with his big body, he could easily score on us and draw us fouls. And with number 9, who's really more of a pick and dive player and less of a post player, one-on-one. We call that blue. So we have a different coverage for these two players in the low post. We didn't play the same defense. And most teams do that because when you have a really skilled big guy, most teams will baseline trap you or strong side trap you or make a blitz from somewhere. Some coaches, more advanced, they say, okay, we're going to help from this guy. He's not a shooter. Whichever angle he is, top, wing, or I don't care. You're going to guard him. And when the big guy cuts the ball on the block, you run, whichever position you are, and trap him. And we work on that on practice. We didn't do that, but some teams do. And then our baseline defense, because we have some baseline on plays that the coach from the last season, communicate early, do not let easy bust from back screens, layups, and we're ready to contest shots because this team, as I said earlier, there's 4 really great shooters here. So that's our game plan. That was we're working for 2 days before that game, and we showed the video of individual skills of these players. Some of these players were playing together last season.
Right.
So I cut some clips of them playing together, playing pick and roll together, playing low post actions together, or some actions, some plays that there were 3 of them in the same team. Because this team has bought 2 or 3 players that were teammates. They had a really good plan as a structure to have a new team and to be promoted. So we have some video of their actions, but we didn't have really a team video. That's Diagoras. That's how they play.
Challenging.
We saw them playing first time in our home court in that cup knockout game. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now. I hope I was really detailed in that preparation phase.
And I love it. Did you want to show that video, or I have a couple questions from what you just shared right now? If you want to go that way first, up to you.
No, it's I will go with questions first.
So the first thing was, I mean, it's obviously very tricky when you don't have much of a background to explore. It's a new coach. It's a different personnel. What sort of things did you identify as your advantages based upon the 3 games that you had before going in? Were there particular matchups you wanted to attack? Were there particular actions you wanted to go to? All of that kind of stuff.
First of all, we have a team that was a bit younger than them, so we want them to deny them playing their low post game because it was a really good low post team.
Right.
To stop penetration with the coverage I already showed, and then we get the defensive rebound to run. We got 2 or 3 guys that could run the floor really well and execute with mainly with drives and some kickouts to our 2 or 3 great shooters we had on this team. So we have some transition actions. Head coach Mike has applied many seasons before in this team the Euro ball screen continuity with some options, some with empty side pick and rolls, some with exploiting the backdoor, and some with exploiting some guard post-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And this season we made really another option to have a flare screen for our stretch 4 guy, really experienced guy, Division 2 guy, really good shooter. And so we tried to hit him in the transition game. If you try to stop penetration, deny low post game, and get the defensive rebound, and then you run in the open court, that's the first step for me when you have not as a low ranked team to beat the biggest opponent. Because if you go to set, half court set, another half court set, okay, and again, the best team will 95% of the times win because they're really good basketball players. They know how to play the set game. So you have to outrun them, and we did that in a good way in this game. not in the best we could, but in a good way.
And
that's the first thing we wanted to do.
My next question, if there's not more, forgive me. I'm always very intrigued at like the adjustment process. You mentioned like basically you have a standardized coverage in terms of pick and roll defense, but like let's say somewhere around the halfway mark of this game, like for instance at halftime you guys are down 6. What adjustments are sticking out in your mind? What are you guys looking at implementing as change? Because now you've spent 20 minutes watch them play. So are you looking at particular matchups? Are you looking at particular actions that they're running? You had mentioned to me during the preparation that you guys don't get statistical services. So you're doing a lot of keeping track of stats. Are there
I was for the stats. I was like a stat keeper. Yes.
Yeah. So are there particular stats that are jumping off the page like, oh, we got to make an adjustment there? And like, how do you implement those changes?
Okay. That's because we didn't have a stat service in that game. And in Division 3, you don't have a stat service. You got to pay for it as a team expense.
Right.
In Division 1, the federation pays it, so you don't have to pay. Okay, so I had 2 stat sheets on my lap, on my clipboard, on the bench. The first one was our individual stats. Shots taken by our players, their turnovers, blocks, rebounds, etc., etc. The second sheet under that was a team stat, like our play calls, our percentage, like we say 2-side. 3 times we scored at 1 time, we had 2 points. So in halftime, I could easily control and tell, of course, the other one was the other half of the second sheet was our defense of how we did versus their actions. How many points have we conceded against their pick and roll, top pick and roll, side pick and roll, low post offense, one-on-one offense, off-ball screens? I'm going to share that in a minute. And so in halftime, we could easily have a 2 or 3 minutes meeting, the coaching staff, the 3 coaches, and I told them, we have conceded 18 points, let's say, for instance, from pick and roll ball handler, like 2 pull-ups and then all the other drives. Or he has this 5 assists for the big guy rolling, because we have noted here 10 points from the roller, etc., etc. So we have this as numbers say, not just, the eye test is really good, but when you have the numbers to, how do you say, to evaluate the eye test, it's better, because you have the numbers don't lie. If you have set a goal to beat them in transition, and in halftime you see 1 out of 3 fast breaks, then you do something wrong. You won't beat them by like that. It was nice as a concept, but you don't do it. You have to force your players, okay, let's get the defensive run and run the lanes, and then find the open man, be with attacking mindset, attack the basket, kick out the ball, and take the open shot. Don't worry. We want to be fast in the pace. We want to have a fast pace, because this will benefit our team. Okay, I'm gonna share the stats document I'm using.
As you do that, I'm just gonna say, I've seen this. Obviously, you shared it with me, and my question to you is: the previous places I've been at, I have always found it harder to coach while having to do these kinds of things on the bench.
Yes,
I
understand that.
Do you agree, or have you sort of mastered doing both at this point? And like what's the trick for you, because you're keeping pretty detailed stats while you're doing all this?
At times, I found it difficult myself to do that, and that's the reason we were 2 assistant coaches.
Right.
So the other assistant coach, Chris, was more responsible for the game flow and having a word with head coach, and was more responsible for the game stats. I was, of course, aware of what happened in the game, but I have, distracted 1 or 2 times or 3 times. But with game after game after game, you get used to it. Your hand goes with a pen, like, okay, I noted that 2 points, 1 point, 1 foul, 1 rebound, and then okay, we're in the game again. So it's like, for me, it was like a habit. It became a habit, and I did that. I'm doing that for the last 5 seasons. Since last season in Division 2, we have stat service, so I'm really note only the team stats, play calls, and how we concede in defense, points in defense.
For sure.
Okay, give me a moment to open the file I wanted. If you have another question, I'm really open to answer it as I find.
For sure. Does anybody have anything? Because I have one more. If anybody wants to jump in, go ahead. But basically, I mean, from the preparation process, one I like to ask a lot of the time is, they say hindsight is 20/20. Obviously, do you think there was something that you omitted in the preparation that you could have added in that would have helped you come away with the win in the game? Is there anything that you were like, we were completely wrong on that, we should have changed it? Were there anything
in the preparation process? No.
No.
I said earlier that we are 70 to 80% correct, but of course, a new coach and a new personnel, and he has some plays we didn't expect them, but
For
we
sure.
weren't hurt by that by more than 5 or 6 points. And the fact that it remained a close game until the final whistle, and we lost with a really small margin, shows that we did a good preparation and we battled them, because I said earlier they were favorites for promoting to Division 1 from Division 2, were one division lower than them. So
Right.
it was really, it was, let's say that our starting five, they have paychecks like 1,000 to 1,500 euros per month. They had 5 players like 2,000, 2,500 per month. So they have double the budget of our team.
So
Okay.
that's interesting. They're quite literally worth more in terms of like certain
Yes,
clubs over other clubs, right? Like,
yes.
So here in Canada, like we have 2 pro leagues. We have the CEBL, and then we have the NBL Canada. And I know in the NBL Canada, there's like a standardization of pay. Like there's a capped number, and all players, officially make the same thing. Other players at times probably get some money under the table. It's possible that could happen, but for the most part, like they're officially paid the same thing. So that's interesting.
Okay.
There's like a pay scale there based upon like expectation and club size.
Yeah, in Greece, it's the paychecks are like that in Division 2 and Division 3. And a detail that was crucial for this game and for the first half of that season was that we didn't have a starting point guard available, because in the last game, the previous season, a playoff game, he was hurt. He had a serious knee injury. He tore his ligament, so he had to stay 7 or 8 months away from practice. And so the guy that we started the game, and he was the starting point guard for the half of the season, was a 20-year-old. He was prepared for the head coach to take up the job, in the during of the season. But he really stepped up in the season. He really helped us. But it was, different. It would be not a lot, but a bit different game if we had a starting point, because he was really a better defender, a better defensive player.
Right.
Than the actual guy that played. He was really a better offensive player.
Sorry, Kostas, are you looking for the sheet you send me? Because I have it readily available if you can't find it.
Okay, share it if you want, because I found it, but if you want available, just do it.
Yeah, it's right here. So this is what you were talking about, correct?
Yes, that's the Excel file. Okay, if you can, full screen it and zoom in it, just for the first sheet. Yes, I've read it in English. Okay, well, you can see, the headline, dates, the quarters. We were 6 down in half court and we lost by 4. Right. And you can see, in bold the players that were starting 5, number 16, number 6, number 7, number 12, and number 15. Yep. I have appointed the positions. Okay. And we have some younger players that didn't play. 3 players didn't play, under 18 players. And you can see, our scoring, our percentages, and then down there I have our fast breaks, our percentage. So we have 4 out of 11 fast breaks. No, you can get a little higher if you want in the first sheet.
Right there.
That's it. That's our fast breaks right there. 4 out of 11. That's not a good percentage if you want to win. We wanted at least 7 or 8 to have, double digits. And in all season, in most games we have double digits fast breaks. And so we executed, but we didn't make the basket. 4 out of 11 is not good. We want to have 7 or 8. And then opponent have fast breaks. They're not really a running team. They were experienced. They like to play set. So we contain them and okay. But 1 point margin wasn't the desirable outcome for us. We want to have at least +6, +7 points in fast breaks.
Right.
Then of opponent offensive rebounds, that's I admitted here is 2 out of 5, 4 points. That's really low. We did a good job out there, and we gave away 26 free throws. Experienced players, you know, they want to draw a foul. They surely will get some. They won't have to check their bodies. They know how to draw a foul, like pulling, you know, their arms or like faking a shot. So have this percentage here, 59% of 2-point shots. That's really, really good. 39% in 3-point shots. That's good too. And that's low, 65% out of free throws. And if you go lower to the second seat and a little to the left, that's the team offense and team defense node. So there's our play calls. That's how many out of how many times we executed. And the percentage, of course, is, you know, Excel spreadsheet, you know, it's, you have a type, you type it and it goes automatically. And then the points we scored. Like we scored out of open, we say in Greece, like open up and let that guy play one-on-one.
Right.
We scored out of open, simple, but we didn't just open up. We did some flare screens. If he went right, the guy from the corner set a flare screen for a shooter to go to the corner. So you have maybe an extra pass or a kick out if they try to zone up on our 1-versus-1. So we scored 15 points out of 1-1 situation. That because we had 2 players that were really good on 1-1 situation, and we attacked their weak defenders. So that was really a good thing we prepared and we did. And
Kostas, can I jump in real quick?
Yes, whatever.
This sheet, when you're on the bench, would look similar to this. Like, I'm assuming this is, you've typed this up from your notes afterwards, but like,
yes, this is the same thing, but of course it's blank on the numbers here, and I have, you know, pen. We have 4 different types of pen, different colors, each for each quarter.
For each quarter,
so
sure.
For each quarter, I know what we did right or wrong, and let's say in the halftime, here you see 2 and 2 and 2, like green and blue, let's say, and then they add up. So in halftime, I have the same form, but with pen writing and with colors. It's color for each quarter, as I said. And then in halftime, I know that, let's say, from pick and roll, we have considered 8, let's say, points in halftime. So we have to be better than that. We played some zone defense. They found our gaps. They punished us. We considered 16 points. That was,
I don't
you
think
know,
I can
maybe
keep track
the
of
biggest.
all of this myself on the bench. There's a lot up here. I applaud you, sir. This is difficult.
It's grown to a habit for me.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say,
of course, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I have another stand coach next to me. In Olympiacos, I do only this sheet because the first one, individual stats, we have a stat service for it, so it's easier for me.
Right.
And again, in Olympiacos, I have 2 assistant coaches next to me, so it's easier.
Sorry, James, what did you say?
Yes, James.
I have problems just keeping timeouts on the bench. I mean,
Yeah. Like, other team fouls. Like, what are we looking at? Right? No, so like for me personally, we keep track a lot of similar things. Like the play calls for me is a big thing, how efficient each that we're running. But I'll have one coach just doing that.
I know.
And you're doing like 4 or 5 different things at the same time, which is incredible to me.
If I have to do only this, it's the more interesting and creative part, and it's like for us coaches, really good to know how we consider, how we score. The first sheet, which individual stats, it's less of a coaching, you know, interest. Yes, of course, I like to know how many free throws my player has, or if my shooter has lost the 2 or 3 shots. But if you have a stat service, that's really easier.
So would your stat service, I mean, obviously you're not going to get your play calls or whatever, but would it break it down in a way that is suitable to you, or do you find you still
stat service in Division 2 and Division 1? They send you an email, or they type, they have a printer with them on the court, and after the game they hand out all the printouts, and they have, you know, lineups.
Right.
It's lineup, how many scored, rebounds, FGs, etc., and opposing lineups, of course. And then they have, you know, like pie charts like starting and guards and bigs. So we have a full statistical analysis. We have stat service Division 2, Division 1. But Division 3 don't provide that. And most teams don't want to have another expense.
Right, for sure. I mean, can we jump ahead to a bit of video here? Are you okay with that?
Yes, well, of course.
This is fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I think there is a question that just went in. Go ahead, Chris. If you want to unmute.
There we go. No, I think I got it. So in game, what are your, like at halftime, what do you walk into halftime and the stats that you want to know? Because if you're going to make halftime adjustments, like there's no way I could go through that entire sheet looking to make halftime adjustments. Walking into halftime, what are the keys that you want?
The time the refs are whistling the halftime, we have 15 minutes. That's okay. I circle all the points of emphasis I want to share with my fellow coaches. Like if we have conceded many points from pick and roll ball handler, I will cycle that and I will say that first. If we have conceded in transition baskets, fast break, drives or 3 points, I will cycle that. So first thing is defense. How many points have we out of 2 or 3 main actions? Then our offense, not the play call specific, but our main player stats. Each team has 3 or 4 scorers that they rely on, to make the points, or creators or rebounders. And then I'm going to focus on them. Like our shooter is really not feeling today, has nothing out of 4 or 1 out of 4. Or our turnovers. Of course, I know how many points they make, our opponents, out of our turnovers. So we're combining that with our fast breaks, we have conceded. So we have cycled 3 or 4 things in defense and 3 or 4 things in offense. And combining that, I'm starting, saying that on our way to the locker room. My colleagues know that have already cycled that, and I do that. And the Division 2 and 1 will have a stat service. I do that on the stat sheet they giving us printout. And then on my stat sheet, I cycle whichever I think is emphasis like. So I say, what defense we play? We play flat heads and over. Okay. We want to stop penetration, but the ball handler got the best of us, and he already these 2 assists, and he's already scored 8 points. So we don't do it correctly. We have 2 options. Bas March in the locker room say, okay, guys, we don't do a good job on the point guard or the creator. He has really 8 points and 2 assists. That's too much for us. He's going to have, catch fire and going to have 16 and 8 assists in the second half. So we have to force him on his left or force him on his right to adjust. Or we don't want to adjust, but to force our players to do a better job on the ball. For me, any pick and roll cover that you want to play on any player, the single most important thing of all is the on-ball pressure. If this isn't enough to put the ball handler out of his comfort zone, then any type of coverage you want to apply, ice, blitz, replies, blitz, anything you want, next defense, it won't matter. If the ball handler has the comfort to get the ball where he wants, he will see all the passes he wants, he will penetrate if you want, he will shoot if you want, or he will even call for a screen. So you have to put the ball pressure high. You have to have high energy. And to answer with another way the question that Menelik asked me before, when you add more tactic and more options to your players to play more coverage, like many coaches teach in preparation time, ice defense on side pick and roll, and then show and recover on the, let's say, step up pick and roll, and then top pick and roll, flat heads, and then if this player left-handed, to go ice on him. And the more tactics you add, more coverage you add, the more your players lose their intensity in defense. This is a fact. I have seen it in many men's teams, even other 18 teams. So you have to have a rule, and then 1 or 2 times. That's the best for me. That's what experience, have taught me. Other coaches might say, no, I want to teach 4 different coverages and use them as I will like in every game. Okay, if you want to do that, you have to be a great teacher. have great patience, you have good high IQ players. But even with that really great combination of all these factors, you have to lose 10 or 20% of the on-ball intensity. I have seen that on video, on many times. I have seen it live in many games. I have coached or have been opponent, and it's a principle for me to go by.
So Kostas, can I try and summarize that? Because I just want to make sure that I'm hearing what you're saying correctly. To Chris's question, somewhere around like halftime, when you're looking at stuff, the things that you would specifically jump off to the page to you, the things that are the biggest numbers, would cause you to look at them first. So like you mentioned, top pick and roll, let's say they're scoring a lot in that or whatever. You're going to look at the things that are the most obvious and try and make the initial adjustments based upon those things that are most obvious in what you're looking at.
Yes.
Yeah. And for the most part, a lot of that you're saying relates to intensity of the ball handler's man and how he's guarding that pick and roll.
Especially on pick and rolls, yes. Because we didn't like to change coverages that season, and that held us in the top 4 positions in that league.
It's interesting to me because, like I said, I would find that very difficult to fill out and look at, and I don't know what would jump off the page initially to me. So I would think that I would probably be looking for the most deliberate things first as well, but I don't know that I would trust. Again, I say it's interesting because we give our tables a lot of problems a lot of the time for not keeping stats properly. But then, for me, if I was looking at that, I'd be like, I don't know if I trust my own numbers, looking at my own numbers. So
I do that job with the double sheets. I'm working as an assistant coach for men's team the last 10 seasons from 2010.
Right.
And I do that for the 8, not 7 out of 10, because in Peristeri we were in Division 2 for the start service over 1 seat. So 7 seasons. So it's grew as habit with me. After the game, for the post-game analysis, I double check, because we saw the game, we dissect the game, what we do well, what we did wrong, we cut the clips, and we saw for 5 or 6 minutes or 10 minutes video if we did really wrong to our players. Right. So I double check. I have this form typed in front of me on my PC, desktop, and I see the screen and say, okay, check, okay. And that's the reason I have different colors for each quarter, because it's from in Europe, I don't know for the NBA, but European basketball, we do dissect the game in quarters or in halves and say, okay, this quarter we were up by 6. Why? What would we do better than them? Maybe we should focus on that on the next quarter too. Doesn't always depend on the personnel. Maybe with some actions, with different personnel, you could say we'll have the same results. Maybe not, but you could try.
Like it. All right. If nobody has anything else question-wise, I'm going to jump ahead to a bit of video just because I want to be respectful of your time, obviously here. So let's go here. Let's go full screen. Give me a second just to set up here. And Kostas, you're okay in the size of this? You can see everything well?
If it would be a bit bigger, it would be better for everyone. But if it's not, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay, I can do that.
A bit.
Open. That is the full game. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Here we go. So I just made a quick little edit of some things that stood out to me and wanted to ask you about them. And let me make this bigger, as you said. Are we good like this?
Yeah, this is the best thing. Okay.
Okay, so very first play of the game, you guys get a score. Do you design it, and does it work out often for you? What do you see?
No, that's random. That's random. That's happened.
Well, I like it.
That's happened. That's happened because there's the tipping, and the guy that makes the basket. He's the captain of the team. He's the player that was the most seasoned with the team. He coached the women's team in local leagues that season and the season before. Really cunning guy, really smart guy. But he started the game because our starting point guard he's sitting on the bench, at the end of the bench with his casual clothing. But he helped us in that game too. Nikos helped me in the game. But this is smart. He saw that we're gonna take the tip off, so he sprint, he dashed, and he made the basket. So it's not like design.
So a lot of these, like I said, I made the clips. A lot of these are on the defending side. So bear
I
with
like
me.
that. I like that.
So this one is a half court set by them, and I'm just going to talk through it as it happens for anybody who's listening who doesn't have video. And if you need, I can run it back afterwards. But nice little action. You got a shallow cut. You punch the ball. He puts it back out, and off of that, they get an open look. We're not married to the results on this. What do you see? Do you like the way you played it? Would you change anything about it?
No, as I said in the game plan, red, strong side defense, rotation. That guy with number 14, Mercedes, power forward, really weak shooter. We just said in the scouting report that if he sets a 3-point spot up shot, just get the hand on his face, not really closing out on him. We don't want him to drive. We don't want him to go to the defensive rebound. Just let him shoot over your hand. He will be missing, and he missed, of course. So this defense is what we wanted to do. We don't want the big guy to start, dribbling and getting his back and his butt, of course, inside the paint. So this is our first defense, and we really did well because that guy with 14, he's not a really high IQ player. He's a really athletic player, weak shooter, and really going to offensive rebound and driving the ball on his right hand. He should pass the ball to the next guy here, point guard, starting point guard. He's a really good shooter, but he didn't do that. So this shot here is what we wanted.
Good when it works out that way. All right. Yes. So would this be scout specific that you would be helping off of the ball side? As you mentioned, this guy's not a good shooter, or you had mentioned when we were discussing before, you want this guy to not go baseline. So I found it interesting that we were helping from this side, and almost as if you are forcing him baseline. So what are sort of your team principles on that? Is this scout specific, or is it just sort of where you decided to help from impromptu here?
We decided to play this guy strong side trap, red, as a call, because he was used to be trapped from the baseline.
Interesting.
Most teams played against him, and they still play because he still plays. He's 34 now, but he still plays in Division 2 and Division 3 teams. He's really used to it, and he, despite of his size, he's a bit, the chunky side. He has really strong feet, so he could really baseline spin, and he can find the pass to the corner guy here, usually a shooting guard or the small forward, really good shooter. So we didn't want him to be here. And another thing, he's really good getting his body inside the paint and, along with his legs and feet, so he could draw some fouls early for us. So we want him to pass the ball back. This here was a set that we didn't expect. We didn't watch it in a previous season from the last coach or this team. So it didn't surprise us as a set because it was a really simple set. But it was lucky for us that this guy here, from the 3 outside players, he was the worst shooter in this lineup. And I said before, he's not a really high IQ player. A really good player who pass the ball to the next guy. You see this guy here, he's asking for the ball.
Right.
He's a really clever guy.
Yeah, look at his hands. He's unhappy with the shot selection.
Yeah, he does that.
So we've got a stagger into a step up action. I think what intrigued me was just sort of the rotations and the multiple sides. There's a few of these that have multiple sides. So I'll play this twice before I ask you the question as to what's going on. Let it go once through here. You guys end up getting the steal. So I'll go back to the beginning and just sort of talk it through, and then I'll ask you sort of what you see. So we get a couple sides, and then we get almost like a curl coming off the top into, I would call this a floppy cut, but it's coming off of a stagger from the baseline. And then he backs out, and it initially looks like we're going to go into a step up, but he turns it into a mid ball screen attack. It's empty side. He rolls into the post and punch the ball. He tries to get it back, and you guys, again, double ball side, but you add the rotation in here for the gamble on the steal, which I liked. So what do you see? Do you like it? Is it, something you plan for again? Just give me the rundown from your perspective.
This set play, we have seen it in the previous season. They had a stagger, baseline stagger like that for a shooter.
Yep.
We decided to trail hard on him, but if in the second screen, like here, our defender number 8 was caught up, we said that if you caught up and the distance goes over 2 meters, you can't reach him. So switch with a power forward, because
Right.
he is not the center, it's the power forward. Really interesting that this guy here, number 14 again, is not a low post player at all. He can't post up. So they didn't look for the inside mismatch, power forward against small forward, no time. So that was beneficial for us. Again, under 8 seconds on the clock, I know that shot looks 11, but we said that any play, this guy here, this is a stretch 4. He was 30, how much? 35 years old at this decision. Anytime he was screened, even with our center, we switch. Because this guy is a power forward, he really doesn't was skilled in playing over and then flat heads. He's not a guard, and he's old, so we didn't want him to be caught up in playing defense like a guard in pick and roll. So we switched, even if the clock was 10 or 11 seconds left, because as a rule we switched every pick and roll under 8 seconds with a big guy. So this went as planned in our defense.
Nice. The rotation by number 7, like comparably.
That's correct. But the reason that he goes for the steal, that's an individual tendency. It's a risk we were willing to take with this guy, the 20-year-old guy, because he had a way of getting that ball. He did that on practice every time.
Like it. We've got one more defending clip. This is a multiple side action. If I remember correctly, this ends up with a pin in on the help side and a jump shot for a 3. So, bit of a almost weave type action, again, coming off of pin downs on both sides. We post the ball on the offensive left side of the floor, and then number 14 on their team screens the low man for the open look on the other side. So, what do you see? Could it be better in any way? How do you feel about it overall?
That didn't end well.
No.
Of course, with the 3-point shot. So the thing here is that we trail harder shooters because we know that play. In the game plan, we say 2 sides is a double exit. That's a double exit for us.
Right.
Double pin down, you said correctly. But as you can see, this guy here faked. So he switched sides. So we have double exit. We have an exit and then the exit to this corner too. So this guy here at the center, number 21, he got the ball isolated on the block instead of having another player here to have the same rotation we saw earlier, the strong side trap. So he managed to get in middle. This guy here did a great job of helping, even this player here is open, but he's not going to pass it here. But that was the case that our defense, let's say the term, collapsed. You can see all 5 players inside the paint. It was a rule for us whenever a good inside player went inside. But this guy here did a really good lock screen. They say that in Europe, lock screen, because he locked this defender and this guy here. I said earlier, not a really good defender and old at that season. He couldn't run to sprint. If this guy was here or if this guy was here, he would try at least to close out. But he doesn't even try to run at him or scream at him or to raise his hands. Nothing. So the fact that this whole chain of reaction started when this shooter here didn't exit to the proper channel, to the proper lane we expected them, and he faked it back and he changed the spacing. And this was really big distance for number 7 to cover for the strong side trap. So it did a really good read that a good set team would do to you. So our plan was correct, but in execution with a minor adjustment that became with a read from the shooter and they changed the spacing, we didn't react properly. That's why I consider 3-point shot.
So I have a question defensively about spacing. We did mention that we do trap down is something that you guys are doing. Are you okay with collapsing this amount of people? Like you're okay with 5 guys in the paint or 3 to the ball? This is something that you guys preach or open to? Because I know here, this is a bit of a no-no. We talk about never wanting a lot of the time having more than 2 to the ball, and then everybody else having 1.5 type deal. Like, in my opinion, I probably wouldn't have closed with 6 who gets caught on the lock screen. I would probably close from up top and then have 6 go to the second path. So I'm just wondering what like the philosophy is there. Is it okay to swarm the ball, so to speak?
In that team, we packed the paint.
Yeah.
This guy here did it a bit slower. This guy here caught up on the lock screen because as you know, she should be over his feet. She should be over the lock screen so he could run and close out. But he didn't do that. He stayed there. He was caught up in the screen. If I wanted to do a correction in our packing the paint, which would be the guy here, number 16, our power forward would be 1 foot inside and 1 foot outside. He went too deep. But again, we would bring 5 players inside the paint, but not that deep. Because here, this guy doesn't attack the basket. He drives parallel to the basket. That's a wrong defensive read from him.
Right.
And the guy that does the wrong defensive read is late, not late, wrong. He's not even trying to go to the closeout.
Interesting. I like
That's my opinion. If any coach sees any other thing, of course, I'm open to hear it.
Well, for me, I would only have had the help coming from 7. And then on the drive, like these guys would have to be spaced a little bit different. So like I'd probably have 15 on the nail so that he could have both of these closeouts to number 10, the person in the left spot. And then if I'm like personally, I wouldn't trap ball side ever, but if I am trapping from the ball side down with number 7, then I would have 16 be sort of like the top closeout, maybe like he'd be 1 foot in the paint, 1 foot out of the paint, and then my low man would be the second rotation. So the person on this pass who I would probably have going to this pass would be your big. And then the person, so number 16, and then the person who would take the second rotation, which would probably be the lock screen, would be number 7 who gets caught underneath. And then later on, if they continued to rotate the ball, which I imagine they would, I would have that switch back happen if there was a size differential based upon that lock screen. But
that would be a really proper rotation that you described. Really proper rotation, yes.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that like early in the season, like I'm saying, and you guys rotate slightly differently than we do, which is why I'm very interested in hearing your perspective on a lot of these. This one is an offensive clip. And as you mentioned early in the season, it didn't really look like a set that you guys run, in my opinion. It looked more concept-based. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and then let me know if you're okay with the shot selection here. So basically, we got a pass to the left slot. We have a shallow cut. He gets it back. There's a cross screen underneath and a flare screen on what was the offensive right side. The gentleman who comes off of the flare screen goes down and comes back up, almost like a V cut, and ends up shooting a long 2, hits the shot. Give me a rundown of what you think. Am I wrong? Is it a set, or was it more concept-based? Give me an idea.
It's a set play designed for number 16, a stretch 4. The idea is to have him set a fake screen and then take a flare. He saw the lane was open, so he cut to the basket. But for us, this cut wasn't appropriate because if you can see the center of the opposing team right here, number 21, he's staying inside the paint the whole set. He does that.
Right at this moment, you're speaking about him never leaving, and his cut makes no sense at that.
Yes, of course, because there's no space to cut for a back cut.
Right.
If he went up to our big guy, number 14 here, to disrupt the pick and roll, okay, he should be cutting and get a lob, get an easy layup, but he didn't read correctly the defensive reaction. But in the scouting, video scouting, individual tendencies we showed our players, we mentioned that this guy here doesn't leave the paint. They wouldn't play heads with him in pick and roll. He would stay flat back the whole game because he's big, he's heavy, and he doesn't play any defense. So we wanted to hit him with a pick and roll. We wanted to attack him with a pick and roll. If you run it back once more, in slow motion if you like, you should see that the time of the pick of the flare screen this guy here, our center, Yanis, is doing a really good job hitting the screen. So this is the distance we want, but the screen is set too wide for a shooter to go to have a space for a shot. So that's why he decided to cut. But again, it was wrong. If you want to play it advanced, we end up by doing what? We play a pick and roll here. The guy is here, the big guy. He is sleeping, and this guy cuts back. His player has lost him, and he takes a long two. So this is one of the first moments of the game. Okay, the first quarter.
Right.
Am I right? Okay.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
We wanted him to get hitting up. This shot for him wasn't a bad shot selection because that's what he do. That's what he was paid for, to take that spot shot. So we didn't have any problem even missing that because that shot was a really quick. He's shooting like you saw, a quick release shot. He doesn't bend his knees. He doesn't get any low. He cuts and shoots from a really high release and quick release. So we want him to take that shot. So with this shot from this player, we don't have any problem. Even this play didn't go as we planned because we applied that play for him the last week or 2 weeks before that game, so that we didn't space that correctly.
Give me 1 second. I'm just entering back in here. So we go back to the defensive end on this next clip. And this one was just a quick question I had. You got a post player cutting through on a diagonal cut, and you guys end up stealing the ball, but you come on the bottom side, and I'm wondering, did he get lucky, or do you allow your players to do that? Because almost every team I've coached on, they want us coming top side on the post. So I'm just wondering, what do you think about it?
You're talking about the defender of the post guy.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay, this is a transition action. So they put the ball on the corner. They're like a secondary fast break, let's say, because the trailer, the big guy here, is running to the basket.
Right.
Of course, we wanted our big guy, our defensive guy, to be not fronting him full front, but to have his right hand over him. But you can see that this guy here, number 21, he uses his body so correctly. He has sealed his defender, our guy, behind his back. So our guy has only one thing to do: deflect the ball, and the point guard, who is really good at it, run and stall it. So it was his guy, the opponent big man's ability to seal our guy, and with an intensity of our center, he deflected the ball and we stole the ball. But of course, his body position, our defender, wasn't right. We don't want, of course, to be caught behind him.
But
no,
anything necessary at the point of getting that steal, right? Like anything you can do.
Because it's not a set play. If you saw earlier in the strong side defense, we tried to play 3 quarters top, but we didn't emphasize on that because we didn't want to caught up in fighting for position and draw fouls. We didn't want that.
Okay. We got an offensive one. I think this is just getting a great cut out of an isolation type play. Give me an idea as to what you see. So we clear out. My first question was, do we have a call here that you've recognized a matchup that you like and you're clearing out just based upon that call? Or is this player decided I'm going to take this at this point? And then my next question was the cut here. Is it a read or is it the cut that you're typically making? Because on the open side, a lot of the time we talk about burning the worst shooter. This looks like you're diving your 4 or probably 5 man to the rim there. I think actually probably your 4.
That's our 5, number 12.
That is your 5. Okay. So is it a read or is that typically where you would dive from? Give me the rundown on this, please.
These are called open. That's the play who scored 16 points in that game.
Right.
The guy with number 6, Socrates, like the ancient philosopher, was our best transition player and our best one-on-one guy in that team. He was our best scorer. He's a slasher, and he at some games he could easily bury 2 or 3 threes if it was in his day. but shooting wasn't and still isn't his best ability. But we call that play because this guy here, number 7, is opposing point guard. They started the game with 2 point guards. This is a point guard and this is a point guard too. We do that in Europe.
Right.
2 point guards.
Raptors
Short guys. We have 2 creators, 2 good 3-point shooters. But he's not a good defender. You can see here he's backing up until he's touching the paint. This is not a read. We wanted him to drive baseline, and on the baseline drive, when the big guy is here to help, who's going to be open? Our big guy. It's as easy as that. 2-man game, going 2 versus 1. We have shooter here. This is a substitute player. He played about 12 minutes, not a good shooter. So we don't want him to be on the corner or the wing because they would help more on this cut, but you see they're outside of the paint. So that cut was designed and he read the action correctly. 2 versus 1, he cut on the open space. If we were on defense, these 2 players would be at least with 1 foot inside the paint, maybe with 2 feet inside the paint, because our head coach, his philosophy is on ball pressure and pack the paint. I don't care if we get a kick out, run, close out, high hands. If we concede a 3-point shot over our hands on the closeout, I'm going to live with that. But I'm going to live with penetration and with a dish. I'm going to live that because these 2 actions, these 2, a layup, a drive layup, a foul, maybe a foul, +1, and a cut like that, it's 95% short points.
So the person that dives would always be the person whose man helps. It's never like
it's the 5 guy
shooter concept.
It's a 5 guy. It's a 5 guy because the 5 guy is lurking in the high post.
Sure. Love it. I think you guys implemented a little bit of zone in here, and
a lot of zone.
Kind of wondering what made you decide to go to it at this point in the game, and then obviously take a look at it. Tell me how you feel you did with it overall on this particular clip. They run some ball screen action, get second side, and you end up with a long closeout. You do actually end up with an offensive rebound and a second shot out of it. But let me go back and play it from the start for you one more time. So we're into it here. We get, double reverse to the second side. And then they got a cutter along the baseline that fakes the cut. They go into ball screen action. And now the cutter comes through. It looks like you're pretty open because your wing has not been bumped. And you get second side with your middleman coming out on the long closeout. So give me an idea. How do you feel about it? What would you change, if anything? All those fun things.
Okay, if you go from the beginning of the clip.
Absolutely.
Thank you. First of all, I love the energy. I love the open arms. I love we're talking. You see the players talking. They're communicating. They're pointing to each other. They slide. So we're ready to play zone. We implemented that zone in that game because we couldn't play 40 minutes man-to-man defense against them. They were better players.
Right. Okay.
Simple as that. So we begin with the first 3 or 4 seconds really correct in our positions. Our number 12 center is here. They point out. The ball is reversed, as you said. We deny this pass here because they tried to post up this player, bad defender, but they couldn't do it. He tried to play defense in this action. High hands here, no high-low game. Then we have a ball screen, which we switch because they're small forward to shooting guard, to guards. Okay, so we switch. This guy is gonna roll, number 9, their center. But what's the problem here? We transformed without planning from 2-3 to 3-2. That forced that baseline cut to overload and our middleman going out there. That was our mistake. He should be near the paint and this guy should stand and this guy should go back, leaving our big guy with their big guy. Playing again 2 free zone, not 3-2 zone. So we have 3 guys above free throw line. That's wrong for a 2-3 zone, of course. And the middle guy, our center, going outside of the paint. So they disrupt our zone. But He tried in defense. He was Giannis. He was really trying on defense this season. So he really did really good job. Fun fact. This guy here, stretch 4, he's like our player. He's only a shooter. So this shot here is a really good shot for him. He maybe missed it, but this team here hasn't any problem with that shot. You're gonna live with that. But he missed it. Of course, with our big guy outside and with not a good defensive rebounds down there, we lost defensive rebound from a guy about 5 feet and 11 inches tall. And then on the ball reversal, our power forward sprint to make a closeout to a really good shooter, and he faked a bit, he touched him a bit, and he made the foul, or he called for a foul to have 3.3 free throws. That's a questionable call, but the ref is down out here 2 meters, so it should be a right call.
Would you say that right up until the point of this ball screen, like right about
Yes,
here, you're pretty much good with
he
everything?
should be.
And then
Yes, up here, yes, but he should be stunning him, and then this guy here should be in the middle, and this guy should be rotating to the corner to have 3 players in the back and 2 in the front.
right.
That was our plan, but we implemented that zone for that game. We have 2 practices, so it's not easy, you know,
For
to
sure.
do that in 2 games, a game after game. It's not that easy.
I was just gonna say it's pretty much right about here where everything breaks down on this rotation, right? Like it's, as you said, this player should be heading back out to the corner.
Yes, because he's a perimeter player. He should be guarding the perimeter.
Right. And at that point, everything else is just basically scramble from there.
Yes, you're right.
Kostas, I just want to double check. We're a little bit over the hour. I didn't even notice. I was enjoying myself so much. Are you okay on time still? I have a few more clips here.
I don't have a problem with time. I'm okay.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So another one that's just a multiple side action. You're back in man to man. There's a couple shallow and cross court shots. Couple cross court cuts here. This is an interesting cut for me. This is almost like a low Iverson over a stagger coming across.
It's a stagger, but it's a baseline stagger, but he read his defender and went above the screens and not under the screens. Baseline stagger.
I like it. It's an interesting cut to me. What do you feel about the clip overall? Obviously not being married to the result of them hitting it, but how do you think you played everything in this?
I think that our guy, number 8, caught up in the first screen and then the second screen, and he was forced to switch. Because I said earlier in another stagger action for the same guy, that
Right.
shooter, that if we caught up in the second screen, we should switch. Because we prefer to play a mismatch, outside or inside, but to have such a great shooter open. And our center did a good job. He held his hand high. He has his front foot denying middle. And then when he's lifting the ball to shoot, he's contesting the shot. So he's doing a good job. Giannis did a good job in this action. He couldn't do anything more.
Yeah.
He's a great scorer. Actually, he's playing for this team now. This
Nice.
guy here. He played last season and this season. He's one of the greatest scorers of Division 2.
Do you force a direction on the catch? Like, are you?
Yes, we'd like to deny middle.
Okay.
Most teams in Europe do that, deny middle. And force baseline and have the help coming from baseline.
One more that's a defending one. Like I said, a lot of these are defending clips. Hang on 1 second. Looks like we got a question in here. Oh, I don't know, James. I'll check it out afterwards. All right, so we've got like a cutting type clip. I found when watching this, and this is a good example of this, that a lot of your actions that you have to guard are multiple things, play after play after play after play, and quite a bit more complex than what we have to guard at the level that I'm at now. So, I mean, basically, you've got a pass to the left slot, pass into the post, get back out after the double. There is a pass to the wing puts it into the post, and now we've got all the cutting happening, and the baseline cutter switches from right to left side, and post kick out open 3. So who ends up missing? How could you play it better? And How do you put together guarding so many actions?
First of all, we have switched to a 3-2 zone. We play 2 types of zones in this game. We switched to the 3-2 zone. Okay. That's why the corner is open in the last action. This here is the big mistake that begins the chain of reactions. We have 2 guys going to the ball.
Right.
That's the first mistake. This guy should be in the wing. This should stand his guy, and number 8 should be inside the paint as a weak side player guarding this shooter. So we matched up. Ball goes to low post. We trying to not to trap because it's a zone, but we could do that. But we decided in the zone not to trap, but to try to deflect the ball while this big guy dribbling. This guy is cutting from the top. So this guy number 7 here, he's tagging him, and he's doing a good job because he could pass him the ball and score an easy layup. We put a hand on the ball. He's a really good defensive, not defensive. He's a really good guy for stealing. This guy number 9, and he managed to pass the ball away from defense. He played in advance. I'm gonna see the pass back here. So after this, the player that cut from the top, he went all the way outside to the corner. And we don't have a guy there because this guy who's guarding the wing is on top. Now we have 1, 2 guys guarding the top, and this guy guarding no one. So these 3 guys didn't communicate well. He should be on the wings. He should stand this player until number 7 gets in front of him. He's responsible for the pick and roll. He should be down here, and this guy from the wing, after he stunned the player with the ball and this guy recovered, he should be down there to the shooter in the corner, play the overload. This guy, you can see number 6 here is totally lost. He didn't manage to find the player, didn't communicate with number 7 and number 9, and now he's running back in order to get a defensive rebound, or if he's cutting to tag him. So these 3 players above free throw line in 3-2 zone didn't communicate well. This didn't went as we planned in our zone. We've already seen in our zone 2 3-point shots. That's 6 out of 16 points we conceded.
Interesting. So for you, this goes back to the question that Chris was asking and that I was asking before about implementing change. You mentioned you couldn't play 40 minutes man-to-man. You threw in various, looks of zone.
Mm-hmm.
How many errors are you willing to accept before you make a change type deal with the strategy of playing a particular zone? Like, how long will you stick with it and be like, okay, that's one mistake versus, no, we got to get out of this right now?
At that team, we are, as a coaching staff, we were ready to accept 2 or 3 mistakes and then get out of the zone. But in the second half, we played less zone because, if I remember correctly, out of 16 points total we have conceded in this game, when we played zone in defense, I remember 10 or 12 we conceded in the first half. Maybe in this game we implemented it a bit earlier, but I don't remember the fouls called because in that team that season we played zones for 2 reasons. The first one is to have another look for the opposing team to face, of course, to disrupt their offense, to make them play longer sets and make them out of the man-to-man plays. And the other thing is to prevent our big players from giving fouls away. Because we have 2 big players, number 12 and number 14, undersized centers. They're both 6'7". They're undersized. The other guy here is 6'8". The other guy, number 9, is 6'9". And with most teams we played, even if in our own division, because I said before this division higher, Division 2 team, they were undersized. Most centers were 6'8", 6'9". These were both 6'7". So they were a bit quicker, a bit smarter, but they really caught fighting for position many times. And when we battle for position, the stronger guy is the bigger guy. Seemingly in the refs, he's a favorite. So many games we had foul trouble early. So I remember that we implied the zone before this guy had 2 fouls early. But we adjusted and played less zone in second half. I remember that really brightly.
Love it. I find it interesting that you use imperial measurements when discussing height on players instead of
yes, I know.
It's for the benefit of our
European. 1 meter is about 3 feet.
Right. All right, so offense. I was curious about the spacing concepts on the way that you attacked here when I looked at this clip. Basically, we get to second side and we get a butt screen while we're attacking. I think he makes a wonderful pass to the other side for an open shot. I also noticed on this clip that similar to you guys, they involve more than two on the pick and roll. It looks like their nail man is all the way over to tag, so it looks like three guys are going to the ball. Is this a very common concept in the leagues that you've coached in, that they're involving
Yes.
more than two in the pick and roll? And what do you feel about your spacing overall on this clip? I'll start it from the beginning again for you.
Okay. Okay. We start here with we start here to play our transition game. We call that as a Euro ball screen offense. We try to play, side pick and roll.
Yep.
The ball goes to the 5-man, but this guy here doesn't back cut for him to replace. He's taking, an option because he's a really good scorer. We have this guy mostly coming off the bench, assistant scoring, really experienced player in the lower leagues, one-on-one player, pick and roll player. So they decided to play defense on him ice, to not let him get in middle, like right side, not get left, and the left side not go right. So this guy here, I said before, the big guy, number 21, he's staying in the paint. This guy is not on the ball, he's the tagger. They decided to help from the highest of the two defenders. I said earlier that our team, from the two-man side in defense, always help from the low tag, not depending on which one of the two offensive players was a better shooter. So they decided to help from the higher tag because from these two, they decided that this guy here shouldn't shoot the ball. But this guy here, okay, maybe we let him shoot the ball because out of the 4 players on the perimeter, he's the less efficient shooter. So this team here played advanced tagging defense. If this guy was in the corner, his defender was going to be the tagger, not the low tag. Okay, you see what I'm getting at.
Yes.
So they got an advanced defensive mode against us, and this guy was open to shoot many times in that game.
So
this pass was a right pass. This shot was an open shot. It's a really good action for us. Really good spacing. Really good shot.
To my question,
out of an option, one of our good scorers has taken in his own responsibility to break up a flow game.
So to my question, would you find that most teams would manipulate who tags based upon scout? Would you find that there is the common way of always playing it with either high or low tag for that particular team? Like what is most common in your league you would find? And for anybody who's watching who may or may not understand, this person on the nail is tagging the roll, which is what allows the 2-on-1 on the other side of the floor.
You can see that the low tag player doesn't go to stun him.
Right.
He's setting with his man because he has the direction that he's not going to shoot the ball, number 16. So it's a plan of them. It's not a coincidence. You saw that clip. Okay, most teams in Europe have a rule, and the most common rule is help from the two-side defensive side, even strong side, and have the low tag player, and then have an X out. This is the most common rule you can see in European basketball. You can see 7 out of 10 teams do that. Some teams do this thing you just saw, help from a specific player, even if he's in a high tag or a low tag. If this player was in the weak side, maybe this player should help. Some teams could do that, but you have to be really good trained to do that, because you should be the help whenever there's a pick and roll, and not depending on the position your player is because he's a bad shooter. But this goes with a high IQ team and trained team.
Chris,
that's an exception.
I see it.
Yeah, can you talk to me about the 2 shooters on the far side? Rewind to that action.
In the clip that we just saw.
The clip we just looked at, where the tag, the high tag.
Yes.
Because I'm watching the take 2 defender. Talk to me about the 2 shooters over there. Who's the guy who takes the shot? Is he a good shooter? And then the guy in the corner, what's his?
The guy in the corner is our best shooter. So they didn't want him to get the ball, or if he gets the ball, he would be closed out in order to pass the ball.
Yeah, because I'm watching the take 2 guy, and he's he's showing some token effort to get out on that shooter, but he really doesn't care. He's dropping it down to that corner man. Is that right?
Yes. That's really correct.
Okay.
They wanted this player number 7 to shoot the ball.
Sorry, guys. I thought I had put it up when you were asking, so I was wondering why I couldn't see you guys. Here's who Chris is talking about. Gentlemen, not going at all.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we got one more in here. Let me take a look.
Funny thing is, that guy number 7 finished season with 38% of 3-pointers. He really got better during the season.
Very interesting.
The guy shooting the ball, okay.
Maybe all those open looks he was looking at, he decided.
Yes, all teams gave him the open shot. In the second round, they didn't do that often.
So we end up with a shake, pick, and roll in this after some false action before, and let me see where we. So here's where we get to shake, pick, and roll. We're attacking the middle. Our help is lifted on the far side above free throw line, and then they shake all the way up above the free throw line. So I'm wondering for you guys on this roll. So this player here who's about to roll into the open space here. Where would you be tagging from within your concepts, and how do you feel you end up recovering for the shot? I'll just go back to the beginning here, and like I said, you get a reverse, flip it back, shake, pick, and roll. The shake lifts up pretty high. He's rolling into wide open space. I would assume this is probably your low man or your most important guy, and then. How do you feel about the timing and the coming and everything?
Can you identify what type of defense we play?
I didn't understand. Sorry, pardon me?
Can you identify what type of defense do we play?
Well, this looks like man to me.
Okay.
Is it a zone and I'm just mistaken?
If you're going to run it back in the start, you're going to see on the right side of the floor, number 9 and number 16 switching players.
Yes.
Let it run for a little bit. You're going to see if number 4 passes the ball back. He cuts to the corner and they switch players. You saw that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Number 16 is guarding the point guard, and number 9 who's shooting guard guarding the power forward. So we starting this. This is a false zone. The false zone. We call that a false zone. So we have
my questions.
Yes.
On one of the later clips, if you're doing that, if you're starting in and then flipping.
Yes, we started. If you're kind enough to go back, that's another time. In the starting position. So we have 2-3 zone alignment. Okay. Or 3-2. No, 2-3 because number 7 is going back. Yes, 2-3 because he's in the corner. And we call 2-2-2-2, like 2-3 zone, 2-3 zone. We're going to play 2-3 zone now. Okay. And in the first, not screen, cutting, we switch. Okay. In the zone, you do that. He's going to be inside, he's going to be outside. Okay. But if you see, this player here is matching up to the big guy. This is following him. He follows him. So we play false zone to switching man-to-man defense. So here, we have a switch. Center to point guard. And fall forward to center. So there's a switch. When you have a switch, do you tag? Do you need to tag? What's your opinion?
Well, so for me, I want to play pick and roll with 2 all the time. So I'm probably not tagging here, but I think based within your concepts, you probably would still, from what I'm observing.
When switching on pick and roll, we didn't tag because he is responsible to front him, to run with him, and deny that pass. The only mistake here is that this guy here, we said earlier, weak defender, he should be 1 foot inside the paint, 1 foot outside, skip the ball, okay, contest the shot, lob the ball, go trap, with the guy running behind him, the switching guy, small forward. That's the mistake here. He should be inside 1 foot and trap on the lob, or contest the shot at least, or try to force him to kick out the ball, and then he will be rotating the corner, he will be rotating, etc., etc. So that this player mistake, he should be inside, because even with this alignment, which is not usual. It's not common to have 4 players above the throw line, of course. Okay,
Right.
they did that because they wanted to have our zone lifted. And even if we didn't play a zone and we played switching man-to-man, he was late to recover on the switch. He let this guy bot him out. You see here 3 or 4 meters, about how much? 10 feet, 10 feet, 10, 12 feet apart.
Yeah.
So no one could even reach for him. He should be inside to go and trap on him. Of course, my head coach would say, pack and go 3 on him. I don't care if this 3-point goes in. I don't want a layup. But that's what his philosophy, and many coaches in Europe think alike. I don't want a layup or a layup and a foul. I want to kick out, and one guy from the top sprint here and let him shoot over your raised hands. And if he's gonna make that, I'm gonna live with that. I'm gonna live with a less effective shot, less percentage shot, high percentage than this one. So here we are late to trap and recover. He's doing a really good effort trying to close out. He's taking that shot and he's missing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I believe he is. Yeah.
Okay, but the mistake was double. The guy here he wasn't deep enough to trap, and the guy switching didn't switch aggressively enough to front and deny that pass. But we played the switching man-to-man out of a false zone alignment.
So my next clip, if you look, it actually says matchup zone, because I was wondering, I'm like, are you guys starting in zone and then
Let's
matching
see.
up halfway through? See, now you're back to a 2-1-2, it looks like. And
No,
then,
it's a zone, it's a zone, it's a zone, it's a zone. It's a zone. And we're 3 on the post, yeah. Third 3-pointer out of a zone. Okay, that's still first half. Okay, we're good here, we're good here. Now, he posts that center against power forward. So if you pose it here on the trap, if you kind enough to pose it on the trap, okay. We wanted this guy from stroke side to be here. If not trap, to annoy the ball, to not let him dribble middle. Okay, so number 9 is right. Number 15, maybe at this clip, he's making a bit of over effort. He goes to trap out of his effort to not let him go middle. So this cut here allows for a 3 versus 2 situation on the weak side. We don't care about this pass here, even if this guy is a really good shooter and he's crazy enough to take that shot from 9 meters away. But we don't care about that. He's gonna pass, he's gonna close out, okay, let's let him shoot that. Okay, don't care. We care about not getting middle by him, not cut in the middle of the zone. So this player here, who serves as a power forward, is a shooting guard, okay, he should be in the middle of the zone. He should stay here to tag this cut and have 3 versus 3 on the weak side, and this player here should recover. So this player has mistaken out of our concept, our tag of this zone. It is a 2-1-2 zone, third type of zone. We played right. Only once. You find the only clip I think we played that zone. So I said that this guy is a really good passer. So if you can see here, 1-on-1, even he's not trying to go baseline, he sees that corner pass. And the corner pass, that's our center here, our slowest guy on the court, he didn't manage to close out. You can see here, of course, 5 guys in the paint, back in. That's the team philosophy. They do that in Europe a lot, even in EuroLeague level. There are many teams that they pack the paint a lot. That's contrary on the coaching philosophy of the same coaches that play pack the paint, that say we need open 3-point spots. We have kick out the ball, and etc. etc. But lately, I've been studying a lot of NBA games this season, and I've seen a lot of teams do the same thing. The Hornets, the Kings, they pack the paint a lot too. And it's interesting as a coaching perspective, because all coaches will say we need the open 3, kick out the ball. If the goal goes to post up, it's most for creating outside game, and less from posting up and take a low percentage shot. But it's interesting.
Just before the next one, we got lots of point and talk. I like it, and matchup zone. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit with the clips to the end of game here. This one got really close, as you mentioned, just in the interest of time here, because a lot of these are similar type things. So we got a nice cut here. And There's a Barkley clip here where you dribbled into the post and you pin the top rotation.
That's a set play. That's a set play.
Love that one.
Set play. Special
We
play.
got a veer action in here where you end up with a pick and roll, and then he screens away for the guy in the corner, and then you end up in another pick and roll.
Pin down for a shooter. Yes, pin down for a shooter, and then he gets a pick and roll for a driver because he didn't get an open shot.
This was a set that I liked. I was wondering if this one made your scout, where it was just basically ends up with a pin down open shot that he misses.
Flex action they ran, and we didn't switch on the screen.
Yeah, and now we get into the late game stuff here. This one is, so I like this one because, again, it looks like they're playing the pick and roll with 3, and he ends up staying calm and making a great pass. You guys knock down the shot.
If you pause the clip on the pick and roll, you should see the guy from the corner guarding number 7, again, same player, number 3, getting ready to tag or trap or that, but he leaves his player wide open in the corner. They have decided in that game to leave that player, Manolis, alone to take the open shots. It's clearly a sunshine.
Yeah, to me, it's unbelievable how much they're overcommitting here.
They're doing that in the lower leagues even more. I have been a stand coach from Ionikos Nikeas in a local league, and we promoted 3 seasons in a row in the local league. They had a rule: you have to have another 18 player every moment of the game. Not the same one. We have 5 guys and switch them over and over. But we have one youngster, okay, to play for developing reasons. Most of these players in local leagues, they are really good shooters. They may be slashers or good defenders. So they had the guy, the best scorer that didn't want to play defense, guarding our youngster, and he was inside the paint 2 feet all the game.
Wow.
In 2 games particular. They didn't care if you will get the ball. Didn't care.
You had
to find solutions against that.
My question would then be, so like this player that makes this 3-point shot that is open here, that's over by their coach right now, if he's missing or if he doesn't have the confidence to shoot, are you going to tell him to keep shooting, or are you going to try and counter it with a different type of action off of this catch?
Okay, I think he made that shot. Yeah, he
does.
Yeah. Okay. This guy, I said before, during the season he got really better, and he got 38% in the season. And second round, he told himself, okay, they're gonna let me open. I'm gonna make every shot I could. So if he didn't make, if this player or every player doesn't make 2 or 3 open shots because they let him be open, we should encourage him to take the next open shot. Okay, what's the limit? 4, 5, 6 misses. Normally, there should be so many misses by any player because he's not a bad shooter, but he's a good penetrator, and they didn't want him to take the ball and have a player close down on him, really close, and go by him, because he could really go by any player, even in Division 2. He's really quick.
Right.
So the first thing is, okay, we have to play with his mind, because he's not a really good shooter. He's 20 years old, he's young, and we don't gonna get drive by him. So they have a dual, target with him, that dual goal. So we encourage him to shoot all season long. Of course, if there was a cutting opportunity, a back cut, we said, okay, you're gonna read that, you're gonna, structure that in practice, drill that, take the cut. But that's your read, and you're gonna grow with that. You're gonna be a better player by reading that situation. You don't have to dictate every action to your players, because then you have playing chess. But basketball is not chess; it's chess-like. But players have to have their own freedom, inside, of course, the frame of the team, to play with the tendencies and then grow when they're younger age.
So there's not a finite number where it's like 5 misses, stop. It's keep shooting, develop that confidence, get better at it type deal. It's
for younger players, yes, and I say again, he's not a bad shooter. He wasn't really confident. He didn't have a bad technique, or the year before he had some games that he shot the ball really well. But now he's playing a Division 3 team again, another team, and he was one of the primary scorers. But he's hitting 3-point shots, not like a really good shooter, but he's hitting, and they respect the shot now.
Like it. So this is the end of the game. There's about 4 clips in here, and then that's it. That's all I got at that point.
Okay.
This is defending late game. You're down 1 point. It's their ball. There's no ATO called. They push off of the missed free throws. Have you at this point worked on any sort of end of game type stuff outside of the 3 games that you've played? And if not, what sort of instruction are you yelling on the bench to keep you guys in? So there's a handoff, and then they reverse the side of the floor. They throw it into the post. I think there's an overcommit on the help. He gets a wide open look at the 3 and knocks it down.
Number 9 has mistaken. You said it correctly. He overcommitted to the ball because number 7, he's going to annoy the dribble, his liquid hands. At this point, we didn't went straight to strong side help in order to not have an open 3-point shot in that late of the game, because a 3-point shot goes 1 point down plus 4 points. That's a lot more than, 4 points is 2 possessions. 3 points is 1 possession. It's really different.
Right.
So I think number 9 has mistaken.
This actually
didn't need to help that. Didn't need to help in the situation.
So you go down and you score, and they're up 1 again.
Yeah.
And on this one, we go under the screen here, and he pulls. So
yes,
if I remember correctly from the beginning of this, when we were talking, your coverage was the flat and over. Had it been adjusted at this point?
With this player number 4, through on the first pick, and then if he was setting a repick, over and flat hits.
Right.
This was my mistake, because late in the game, I knew this player. I've said him before many times. Late in this game, he took these big shots. Earlier in the game, he tried to penetrate. He tried to create, to dish the ball, to kick out. Late in the game, he shot the ball. So I should be more emphasized. My head coach, like, late in the game, we should flat heads on him on the first pick. And after the game, I told him we should do that. We don't know. Maybe he could penetrate. Maybe he would shot the ball over. Okay, but we shouldn't play through that bigger role in particular.
Interesting. So there's a timeout in advance,
yes.
And you guys draw it up, and you're down 4 at this point again, because he just made that 3, like we said.
Yes.
And what sort of instruction, beyond the play, we'll take a look at the play in a second. Beyond the play, what sort of instruction are you giving them in that ATO? And like, are you only giving them instruction for the offensive play, or are you telling them, hey, if we miss, we're fouling, or like, are you going beyond just the one play?
No, we go beyond the one play. We of course, head coach is drawing the play, and he says he's laying out the options, and he says if we score, we do that. If we miss, we do that. Of course, down 4, unless we got a 3-point plus a foul and tie the game, we're gonna foul, because the clock is running out, and we have under a minute. I think it's about 40 seconds, something like that. I see the clock. The clock is 24 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's about 35 to 40 seconds. So we're gonna foul after that position. Maybe we're gonna trap. I don't remember correctly right now. We can play handoff for our primary scoring. We play open. We play open again, and we score.
Yeah, I like
Didn't expect that. Didn't expect that. You can see that all the other players are running to the corners and guarding our shooters. Even number 7, even number 7, they committed on him because he has made 2 3-point shots in that game. So they really wide out. Look at this player right here in the corner. You can see my mouse pointer.
No, we can't see. You can only see mine.
Because you are saying. But in the deep far corner near the bench, our number 16, our best shooter, stretch 4. His man, number 5. Look how he's guarding him. Overplays him, not to get the ball. He has that instruction from his coach. They're afraid of him, not to shoot the ball. But of course, they wide it up, they stretched up. Even the center, this guy is not a shooter, our center, our big, he's outside of the paint. So he got one-on-one opportunity. They didn't expect that.
So being down 4, you guys were okay with taking the 2 and trying to foul at this
quick score. We score,
score as quick as possible.
Yes.
Like it. And then this is just the scramble at the end. So you guys put on some full court pressure. I believe there was a foul here that the ref missed. They get a couple extra passes, kills a bit more time. And then they go to the line, and I'll fast forward past the free throws, but he makes both. So did you have another play set up for here from your previous?
Yes.
From
yes.
Your,
if you run it forward, you're gonna see that.
so you make your subs.
The coach is calling. Yes, sub to pause the time to control the ball, to control the baseline out. That's what the sub was about.
Yeah.
We wanted this guy to take the ball, the other two guys spread out and have a 3-point shot on the pull-up. But we didn't get that because they played good defense, and we ended with a big guy taking a shot. Okay, so, we're down by 4. We're down by 4, but okay, this one was pre-designed in the timeout before. Like we trap and foul, and then even if he gets the ball, even if they score 2 points, if they score 1 point and get the rebound, we're going to our quickest guy to take the middle lane and the shooters wide and drive, kick out, and take a 3-point shot. That was the instruction in the timeout before. So we went 3 actions before in advance. Sorry.
So it's interesting because I would do the same thing myself. And there's a lot of coaches here in Canada that don't believe in going beyond just the next play. They think that it's like an information overload. And I think at end of game, you've got to in some scenarios. Kostas, that's all I've got. I want to say thank you so much.
The last sentence from me. I hear what you say about the other coaches. If you have simple actions, you have a clear out action and then drive a kick action. It's not really too much information. It's not like we drew 2 staggers and then a flex action and then no, 2 simple actions.
Yeah. So again, I want to say thank you. We're almost at the 2-hour mark. So like, I really appreciate the time you gave. If you want to hang out after we stop the recording, sometimes coaches like to hang out and talk a little bit afterwards. They don't like to be on camera. But again, a big thank you for joining us today. It's great to get an insight in what somebody else is doing. Our next episode after this will be, who do we got? I got Stefan Grassiger coming on. So this will be another good one, in my opinion. Yes. And obviously, if you're checking this out later on Spotify, on podcast app, or on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I've got to be that guy who says that now. Apparently, at this point, I'm joining, but it's been an awesome adventure so far. Coaches such as yourself sharing the game have been incredible for me, and I hope for everybody else in the community who jumps on. And lastly, in addition to saying thank you to you, I want to say thank you to all the coaches. There's several that are still on this call now, 2 hours in, that take their time to listen, want to share, want to get better. I'm going to stop the recording there. Kostas, thank you. Any closing words? It's yours. But thank you so much. I just can't say it enough.
Thank you so much for having me, because you have a great concept that I haven't really seen any other guy doing it. I want to thank all the coaches for their attendance. A big hi to Coach Ray Montgomery from Penn University. I've been there last fall. In the Palestra with my fellow coach Alex, and I saw their practices for their practices training camp with Coach Donahue and Coach Ned Graham. They're really, really a great team. They had AJ Broder, a really good, skilled big guy, plays in Germany now. And I encourage any coach that even living in the States or living abroad over the Atlantic, if he's had the chance to attend training practices in NCAA, in Division 1 or 2 programs, he should go. They do a tremendous job. We went at Drexel, we went at Penn, we went at Boston University, and went in the Celtics and the Sixers to attend some practices. The foundation, the facilities, the chemistry between assistant coaches. You see whole coaching staffs correcting and videotaping, and then the next day showing their errors. They were really, really a great experience for us coaches to go there. And to all other coaches, thank you for your patience, because we hit the tarmac. I know I talk too much at times. I overanalyze stuff. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry if I tired you.
To me, that's what this is all about. This is like, I understand it might not be for everyone, but I really like a coach who is thorough. And everything you do will not be everything I do, will not be everything that Trey does, will not be everything that James does. So I really like listening to why coaches are doing what they're doing. And I thank you so much for being open to share. The last comment I will make just before I shut off the recording is, if you've managed to make it through here, definitely go and check out some of the stuff that Kostas is sharing online. I will, as I mentioned, put the links in, but for sure, go and check out his stuff on CoachTube. He's got some excellent stuff that he shared. I've bought quite a few of them and gone through a few of them, so definitely check that out. Kostas, thank you. I'm going to stop the recording right here.
Yeah.